Hey, Chuck, I don't know if Adam's here, but somebody was asked about the website. He did the song, so I don't know if he wants to post it in there or not. He's the songwriter through the AI. Did a great job. Okay,
Yeah, that would be suno.com, suno.com.
get that, Sue? The question was, what app did we use to make the song? It's Suno.com. All right, Chuck, let's get into it.
Okay, all right. So if you want to track and see what we're up to, go to dtitrader.com/telegram. For reviews, go to dtitrader.com/YouTube. Risk disclaimer here, there is a high degree of risk involved in all trading. You and you alone are going to be responsible for decisions you make on the trading front, so make sure you make them carefully. And past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of the major news shaping the market. Tom, we're in the heart of earnings season. I think UNH, Boeing, I believe, came out this morning. We got a few others tomorrow: Meta, Microsoft, Tesla. That's going to be the big deal. But the biggest deal tomorrow is likely to be the FOMC meeting, the first one we've got this year. Pay attention to the way that the voting goes. We're not really expecting any change, but we're going to pay attention to those votes and see how organized, I guess, or how together the FOMC is if we're looking at dissension in the ranks and what that might mean going forward. But that will all be tomorrow. This morning, we did have consumer confidence come out, and it was actually kind of down to 84.5. And that was from a previous read of 89.1, but the previous number was revised to 94.2. So that was a big downward shift. So those of you watching the market this morning and seeing that action right at the beginning of RB3 coming into the end of RB3, looking at some of the small caps not really performing that well. Nasdaq did have a pretty nice start to the morning, but one of the negative things out there was consumer confidence dipping down a bit. So that was kind of a big factor. Now, not on this page, but also scheduled today, Tom, we're going to have POTUS speaking at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So right around the cash close for our market. So be aware of that. Could definitely impact the way the market's set up for the beginning of FOMC Day Wednesday, which will start at 6 p.m. Eastern tonight. So let's see.
Hey,
What's our
Chuck, on the earnings, is
yeah?
When's Apple reporting? Is that Thursday after the close?
I want to say that is Thursday, yeah, because Meta, Microsoft, and Tesla Wednesday, and Apple comes after that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Apple's on Thursday after the close. So we got earnings. We got those are big stocks, and I think you ought to keep your eye on Apple because it's showing Apple is showing a little what I would call bid come in. Now
Yeah.
it's been bearish all month, actually bearish last month too, but it looks to me like they're marking it up. So it's I want to keep my eye on it. Jonathan, where did Apple open the month at? Real quick, you know, off the top of your head.
No, but I got the roadmap open. Tell me right now.
All right.
Apple 272 quarter, according to the trade tracker.
Yeah, so it's still
272 quarter.
negative. And what was the 3 day high, 3 day low?
277.84 is the 3-day high. 262.12 is the 3-day low.
Yeah, so we're coming to the low end of that 3 day low where it is right here prior to earnings because Apple's trading 261. Okay, I thought it was getting
Yeah.
close to a
And Tom, I'm sure you've heard this, but there's obviously speculation that someone else is going to be running Apple, Tim Cook getting ready to retire.
Speaking of someone else, not to change the subject, wouldn't it? I think it would be funny because everybody is saying that Jay Powell is going to have watching his talk after the Fed announcement tomorrow. It's supposed to be really watched. Might be pretty interesting if Trump appoints the new guy during that press conference. I'm just saying. I was thinking about that. Market would have to go through the sell off, right? If that happened. Anyway, just thought it was funny.
All right, what does Kalshi say? Yeah, if you want to keep up with some of the local events or
Yeah,
global
Couchy's
economic
great,
events,
Buck. I
Kalshi's a great
agree.
website.
Does everybody know to go to Couchy.com rather than listen to the news if you want to know about events happening? It's a great website. It's where people put real money on things happen. It's Kalshi.com, spelled KALSHI.com.
Yeah, I mostly use it for sports, but there's a lot of like, is the Fed going to cut rates? Most likely no. I haven't looked at the pricing on that, but Tom, talking about selling premium, you can maybe pick up a little bit on that one. So in my opinion, I want to listen to Tom Busby's opinion. What have you got, Tom?
Well, first of all, as people well aware, I'm pretty bullish on the market this year. Wall Street says it's going to come in 4 to 5%. I think it's going to be bigger than that because I think what they're not accounting for is the fact that this is the second year of President Trump's campaign or term, and I think we're going to see a lot of those things that were done last year start showing up in the economy and surprise people. You get a lot of investment, you get more money in people's pockets, you get some of these affordability items going down. It was interesting. My wife said yesterday she bought a roast because the price of roast fell, and I thought that was pretty good because she's obviously follows that price more than I do. Gas has fell. There's a lot of good things out there, but the problem is when you have 20% inflation, people's memory is that, hey, we had 20% inflation, even though you're running at 1.5% now, which is a lot better pace. It's still got those embedded prices. Like they're not going to take your McDonald's burger down. They haven't since 1980 with all the increases and stuff like that. Just think that's good. My opinion, the best stock on the planet outside of the metals market is Micron. It's at 408 this morning. It shows a lot of strength, and I've been doing a couple strategies there with Micron. MU's the symbol. We'll take a look at it when we go live. That's my opinion, Chuck. Welcome to Train and Trade. Today's topic for Train and Trade was, how do you know when the music stops? I hear a lot of people and I see a lot of articles. This morning I saw my buddy Tom Sosnoff on CNBC, and he's been around a long time, and I was listening to him, talk about silver. Obviously got my attention, and I'll show you some techniques I use at the end of the day to let you know the music stopped. Y'all remember when we used to play that game when we were little? Musical chairs. You sure didn't want the music to stop because you got out of the game. But the music will stop. But I will tell you, there's a lot of signs that you got to recognize when it does. And I'll talk about some of those signs. Now, emotions run high in volatile markets. That's why they're volatile, number one. The basic reason you got panic and fear going on in a market that's running hot, and silver is definitely a market running hot. That doesn't scare me. That creates opportunity because I use numbers, and I've overcome my emotions using those numbers. And that's why you'll hear me say, "Hey, if silver goes above this number," I post the number every day inside the talk and trade room. Trigger numbers. These trigger me into action, these numbers. And but I use numbers. I don't think about what it's doing. I think about the numbers from our method that we use to overcome those emotions. Because I used to, did anybody ever buy at the high and sell at the low? But when I first got started, they got me coming and going. I'd buy at the high and sell at the low, do it 2 or 3 times thinking I was going to catch the trend and end up losing more money than the total range of the day on what I was buying at the high and selling at the low. And if you've done that, it really shows you how emotions play a part in your thinking. okay? And you got to guard against that. The only way I've ever found to guard against it's two ways: having numbers and time of day, time of week, time of month. That's the way I have to think of the market, because I get excited. I'm like, when I'm racking a trade that's bringing a lot of money in, I get excited. I got a little cheerleader in me. I get excited about it. But the problem is that cheerleading can lead to blindness. And that's why the numbers are important. That's why we developed the roadmap many years ago. And it helps me overcome the emotions. So I hope it's helping you with the training we give you. Now, here's what I look for to get started. I look at a 5-day low or 5-day high, depending on the trend I'm trading. For example, silver's a bullish. Nobody can argue that silver's in a bullish trend. So I look at 90.15 at silver futures and SLV at 81.89. So with silver futures trading right now at 109, I'm not even close to this market turning south. Does everybody understand the thinking behind it with the 5-day? I want you to understand this as I go through it. So that's why I'm so calm when you have a day like yesterday and you're not penetrating the low of that 5-day trend or 5-day, if we're short, the 5-day high. And that's on silver futures and on SLV. Doesn't mean it can't go down on you if you're trading options, but the point is that's the big picture I'm looking at. It's bullish, so I'm looking at that 5-day trend. Everybody understand that? No warnings there. Now, the other way I look at it is the shorter term trend, which is the first trade day low. Well, you start with the month, okay, and you look, it was at 70 on futures and 64 on SLV. We're way above those numbers for turning that market south. And does everybody here understand when you read articles, silver's having a blow off top, all this crap they put out there? Y'all understand what's going on there, right? Well, let me explain it. The institutions are behind the 8-ball. Retail's on top of it. Institutions are behind the 8-ball. They don't have enough silver to meet demand. And so here's the way I'm going to just describe this as a hypothetical. But let's say if I'm a big guy that needs to have silver, I might take the lunch a guy that I know that writes these financial articles and take him to lunch, buy him a bunch of margaritas, get him all juiced up. And that article would come out and thought, this guy never traded silver, but guess what? He likes to eat steak and he likes to have margaritas. I'm just saying hypothetically, seeing Wall Street work, that's the way they work. And they do it in a nonchalant way. They need to have the market come down. If not, the prices goes a lot higher. So that's going on in the background. Tom alluded to that this morning in a different way. He said institutions need to acquire more silver. That's a simple way of saying it. I'm giving you the speculation. Over the years, I've had a lot of it, right? Okay. They want you to sell your stuff. But anyway, I look for the month, the numbers. There's the numbers for this month. Those are we're up pretty good from those numbers. Then to bring it into a closer look, I look for the week. Now, if I go look at the week and I say we went down as low as 96.51 and my low for silver futures was 101, it can go below that. It has to close below these numbers. You need to know that. It has to close below these numbers to really have what I would call a signal that would turn it south. So for day 2 of the week, we're about 96.51 on SLV for day 2. Everybody understand that? But we can build on that number another way. And that other way, let's go to the next slide, please, is using the MTI by DTI numbers. Now you look over there for SLV, or that's silver futures, where is it? 86 on the long term, Jonathan? And on the short term, it's about 85. This is a mathematical calculation that keeps current, and you could use it for trailing your positions. I think that's the long term on the left hand side, and the short term on the right hand side. Bad guess.
That's silver futures 86.15 and SLV 85.45 is what that is. Those are both daily numbers.
Those are both daily numbers. Okay. You can also get it to 30 minutes if you want to, but the daily is where you want to make your decisions from. Everybody write that down. The daily is where you want to make your serious decisions from, not the short term. Short term is good for taking an account at 10,000 and turning it into 200,000, but I'm talking about the real numbers over there lying the daily. Okay? These are tools at DTI called MTI by DTI. Any market in the world, we're highlighting silver today. All right, let's keep going, Jonathan. Now, here is what I call one of the most valuable things we teach is our 24-hour market. And that's the reference bar approach. The reference bar approach really dials in on the short term. Okay? If it's above that frame of the last two reference bars, that's bullish. If it's below that frame of the last two reference bars, that's a little bearish short term. And this can help you enter and exit for speculative positions. But generally speaking, it's more of a look at a market, the health of that market. And so if you look at it on this chart, it's near the low end of that range at 108. And I think the low is about 104, 105 area. Okay, that's silver futures, right, Jonathan? Right?
Yeah, that's silver futures. It's a little hard to see. 106.10 is the current RB frame low. So 106.10. And the RB frame high is 112.08. If you were curious to the upside, 112.08.
And so we're sort of in the middle of the day, which is great if you got option premium sold, because that premium comes out of these highly volatile things. Okay.
And little note there, if you don't have it on your chart yet, you can go to setup across your roadmap menu bar, click on charts, and near the bottom of that menu that pops up, there's a checkable box for auto add RB frame.
Now we'll show you that when we go live. Let's do that. Let's show it that when we go live, because that's really, I have it on every chart I bring up once you set it.
Click on setup across the menu, click on charts. Here's the menu that pops up. Near the bottom, there's a little box that says auto add RB frame. You can auto add a bunch of other lines too, but make sure you add the auto frame. Check it on, restart your roadmap. And on your restart of roadmap, all your charts will have that RB frame. So pretty neat little indicator we have there on the roadmap software.
We have white papers for our new people. We can type into the chat room and read all about it. Y'all heard that? Read all about it. You ought to learn these reference bars, especially when you're trying to evaluate a day that you're looking at the market. So anyway, silver came in today after yesterday's big high, short term, a little to the negative side, okay? Now, yesterday we saw a very volatile high, 117 on silver futures, and a low that exceeded the ATR. This creates a new defined range of importance. If you remember, and I told people a little history, it went down to, it was, I think, December 29th, it dropped the same way. The high was 82 to 70 or 69. Once we broke 82 on silver futures, we went up to 117, the next stop, which was yesterday. You see where the picture is long term? Once we break that high of 117, probably going about 145 if you want to measure it out. Write that number down. That'd be my next resistance point. figuring out where the playing field is. Okay. Am I losing anybody? What I'm talking about? I'm trying to keep it very simple, really, from like looking in at the players from up high. Is everybody grasping what I'm doing today? Perfect, Stan. Neil says, outstanding. Can't get this kind of information anywhere else. Polly says, you think silver's going to 145? If I said it, I think it. Yes, that's my opinion. Perfect. Thanks, bud. All right, so high, low, and vol today. So Monday's range, 117. Midpoint's 109.71. That's where you run into resistance today. The low is 101.71. 101. Let me tell you about a conversation I had last night with one of our students. He called me, he said, Tom, and this guy has made a lot of money with me. And he says to me, he said, I really like the way silver looks tonight in the market. I said, I do too. And we talked about it, and I said, here's the number that we're wrong. I gave him the numbers we're wrong. Now you know where it is. And, well, guarantee if he's here today, he had a big night last night. Rob, are you here today? Anyway, he had a big night last night having that, I was able to help a student there. And because he was thinking the same thing I was thinking after that big volatile day yesterday. Knew exactly where it would go. And I would show that to you if we go live. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Anyway, but that's the diagram of silver futures. Silver futures leads silver stock. So we got to follow silver futures. There's Rob. Great morning, wasn't it, Rob? I knew I'd wake him up talking about last night. Okay. Remember this range, it's important. Now, what I've developed here is something pretty special. It's called a silver wheel. And I'm going to come back to this, but I want to go, Jonathan, I'd like to go to a live market. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about silver wheel when I finish talking, okay? I want to go live. Let's start out with Seven Sisters, E-mini.
All right, 30-minute charts or daily charts there, Tom?
This is 30, I'll go fast.
Okay, here's the S&P futures.
Yeah, last night in my futures first, I got people long the equity market. As you can see, our target at the time, minimum target was 95 off RB1, and it's up at 70.15. My pivot number is going with 7,007. We're still bullish, and I guess we're looking higher right now because the market's come off those lows, maybe in anticipation of maybe some good news coming our way. We'll see.
Isn't that interesting how your pivot lined up with the high of RB3?
Yep. That's a key number. Again, numbers and emotions, how I eliminate those emotions. All right, let's see, man. Let's look at NASDAQ. Jonathan referred to the QQQ, which is, this is the forerunner. If anybody trades QQQ, the NASDAQ futures help you trade it. NASDAQ futures right now, as they say in our business, looking very strong, very strong. And we're at a key time, Genesis right now. It'd be great to get a continuation day. And I'll explain that in a little bit. That's NASDAQ. Dow. Now, the Dow took a hit because of United Health. It accounted for negative 385 points when it was down. But the Dow futures is only down 309, which means the rest of the stocks are doing fine. Plus 85 if you take out the negative 385. That's the kind of information that you don't get anywhere else. Crude oil, what's old crude doing? It's been trading up here for a while. It's still trading up. Look, 61.90. 60.50 is a pivot number on crude. You ought to write that number down. Okay? 60.50. All right, let's go to gold. Now, y'all remember we've been pretty hot on gold for what, about 3 years, calling highs and higher highs and that kind of stuff. And I told people it was going to go to around 4,000 to 4,500 if it got to inflation adjusted price. Well, it did that. So what does it mean when gold is trading 50.90? It means, let's go look at silver. I asked Jonathan yesterday, what is the projected price of inflation-adjusted silver? And he came back with a number of 180 to 220. So silver is making a catch-up move. That's why I like silver over gold. A lot more money to be made in silver versus gold, because if it gets back to relative to where gold did, we're going to be looking at 180 on silver. Minimum. I want to share that with you, okay? Bonds, let's look at bonds, ZB. Yeah, bonds are sideways. I guess Fed meeting, nothing too exciting. They're not putting themselves out there. It's gonna be interesting though when he appoints that Fed chairman. We'll see what happens. Okay. Now I want to go to the moneymaker, Jonathan. Let's go to the moneymaker. I'm teaching something.
Tables, moneymaker. And like silver. I did one on silver yesterday. We'll open that up. What do you want our benchmark to be there, Tom?
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to do it based off. Well, you got that 98 in there, right? Okay. I want to give them a story. Silver yesterday, SLV closed at 98 in the regular market yesterday. Okay. Silver futures closed down. They traded an hour after that and was about 103. You got a chart. Why don't you put silver futures and show it to him? Let's go to RB1 if we can. I want to show you how to make money using the moneymaker. This is a great trade. Okay, so silver futures there, you got RB1. Yeah. What was it, about 103, 102 area right there? Yeah. So that's when I was having a conversation with Rob. I said, I think we're going to trade up to the midpoint, which is 109 on silver. And I'm buying silver futures tonight. And because my rationale was that SLV would trade up also to 98. And so I bought SLV last night and I bought silver futures last night. And obviously I was rewarded for that analysis because what did silver futures do? It traded up to 109, right? This morning on silver futures. And SLV, which was a great buy last night, could have bought it like 93, 94. It traded up to 98.42. And if you go look, it's actually right now, silver futures or silver is 98. So that was a trade that was generated off that volatile day yesterday. Little high risk doing that, but I waited RB1. Look at RB1 on silver futures. Everybody see RB1 on silver futures? And if you come over, you see the breakout bar. What time did that happen? About 7:38, right? We just broke out and started going higher, stayed higher all night and everything. So that was a heck of a trade. But using the moneymaker feature, taking the last price when there was a imbalance for what happened from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock when futures closed. Does everybody understand what I'm showing you? Okay. I'm showing you, you have a tool inside the Roadmap software, learning how to compare futures to stocks. You can make a lot of money just based off the way these things get out of whack. Give me a yes if you understand that concept I just went through. We'll have to do some more teaching if you don't. But anyway, you got to learn the moneymaker. Start out for where we posted TNT. Post it every day. In TNT, I got 70.15 was my projected high. Jonathan, I would change that to 70.45 when you do your update there. Okay.
70.45.
Yeah. Let me repeat it. You take the closing price of the cash market, which was 98, and when silver futures fell out of bed from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, went down almost $3. Then if you get a reversal on RB1, you can expect it to trade back up to 98. And that's exactly what happened. That would be the resistance point it came to 98. That's where it is right now, 98.20.
Just to
98 was the
recap,
close on SLV.
yeah, just to recap, 98 was closed on SLV. Stocks closed earlier than futures. Futures extended the downward move yesterday. So futures went down further. And that, created the opportunity for us to put that 98 number into the moneymaker, which we did. And Tom's question was if SLV can get back to 98, or based on 98, the 98 closing price on SLV, where should silver futures be? 108.31. There's your first target on a rebound move.
Yeah, so I played the rebound on silver futures last night, overnight, and did that. And I did it because the market trades 24 hours. Both of those markets trade 24 hours.
And just to review, the most important part of that trade when he was speaking to Rob overnight was where the stop goes. And Tom said, you got to put your stop below the reference bar, below the prior day low at the, lowest point, right?
Exactly where it went too.
So, he mentioned that, but, obviously people think about making money, but protecting your profits is arguably more important. So, yep.
And
Awesome.
I want to talk a little bit about, we'll go back to the silver wheel. I want to talk a little bit about that. Okay. I got to thinking about it with the volatility in SLV and the average true range right now. The average true range is pretty big. So I've changed what I'm going to do there, and I'll tell everybody at one the actual technique. But generally speaking, if I'm probably going, since I've got a built-in stop anyway with what I'm doing, I'm probably not going to do anything until I get to the day of expiration. In other words, it can vacillate around, but with a bullish market, it sort of it finds its way to end up back bullish by expiration day. And so I want to talk about that tactic once we get together at one, because there's no need to even mess with it on no matter what it does with 1 day to go. Okay. But the silver wheel is a concept that I came up with to take advantage of option knowledge and a historic market of silver. And as I told you yesterday, everybody that trades options, let me ask this question. I got two questions. How many of you trade options? All right. And Jonathan, I want to do a poll. How many here are in silver wheel? And who's not?
All right, give me a moment to get that poll going.
And the reason I'm doing that because I had this conversation again with another one of our salespeople, and I said, if you got anybody that trades options, they need to be in this silver wheel because this is probably one of the top 10 trades of my life, and I want people to enjoy it with me. And I'm putting a lot of time in here to make sure everybody learns what they need to learn. Like, for example, what do you do and how do you know the music stopped? Because that is going to happen someday in the future. I think, hopefully, if it works out, a long way from now. But or if you're in the silver wheel, once you put, yes, I'm in the silver wheel, you'll be with me at one. If you're not in the silver wheel, you need to be, if you like. And I'm sure you got in this business to make money with options, so that would be good. So answer that poll. Jonathan, after you wrap pull up, tell me how many people here are not in the silver wheel. Peg's up 790 on the wheel I gave her yesterday. That pretty well pays for it, almost, Peg. I showed an experienced trader this morning a new type wheel that I'm doing.
Tom, we need a little bit more people to answer, but so far it looks like 50 out of 90 who've answered have the silver wheel, so 40 do not.
Okay. Let me talk to the 40. You've got a chance to really grow your account. You got roughly 14 days to make sure I'm just not blowing smoke on this sucker, okay? So you ought to join, okay? And be part of it, because we kick it off every day at 1 o'clock. Today, I'm gonna give everybody how I handle losses with the silver wheel trade, okay? That's what I'm gonna do. So that's gonna be an important lesson today at 1. Also, we'll talk about if you're not in the wheel or don't have the wheel, what you should do today. I'm teaching live, Shoba. Exactly, I'm teaching live. I've committed Jonathan and Chuck and me are going to take that about 1:15 slot every day for at least the next 30 days. My promise is that I'm going to get you the knowledge you need to feel comfortable for doing this trade. You don't want to sit on the sidelines. You don't. All right, we got any more slides, or we're going to play a tape?
Got a tape to queue up here. We can fire it off anytime, Tom.
And somebody needs to link to Orion also. Wendy did, okay?
All right, I'll dig that up in just a minute, Wendy, and get it posted for you.